Have you ever noticed that you can spend an entire day doing things and still feel like you were not truly there for any of it? And have you ever wondered why the mind keeps asking for a better moment while quietly ignoring the only moment that is actually real? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to explore what the present moment really means in reality, not as a nice idea, not as a motivational slogan, but as the most practical doorway into clarity, wisdom, compassion, and a calmer destiny. Two ideas will guide everything. First, the present moment is not a thought about now. It is the lived experience of now, and it is always available, even when your mind is busy. Second, most suffering is not created by the facts of the present moment, but by the mind leaving the stories it builds about past and futures. Let me tell you this as a story, because the present moment is not something you understand once. It is something you return to until returning becomes your new normal. There was a person who wanted to be present. They had heard people talk about presence like it was a magical state, the kind of state where you feel peaceful all the time and nothing bothers you. They imagined presence as a perfect calm mood. But their actual life did not look like that. Their life looked like alarms, messages, deadlines, responsibilities, and relationships. Their life looked like days where the body was tired and the mind was loud. Their life looked like moments where emotions arrived without warning. So whenever they tried to be present, they felt like they were failing. They would sit down and immediately thoughts would begin. They would walk and immediately planning would begin. They would try to listen to someone and immediately inner commentary would begin. They asked themselves a question that many people ask in secret: if presence is real, why is it so hard? One day something simple happened. They were walking outside and they felt the mind rushing as usual. It was running ahead into the future. It was rehearsing what might happen. It was replaying something that already happened. Then they stopped for a second, not as a meditation, but as an accident. Maybe they heard a sound. Maybe they saw light on a wall. Maybe they felt wind on the face. For a brief moment, the mind paused, and in that pause, they felt something that had been missing for a long time: the simple feeling of being alive right now. Nothing in their life got solved in that second. The future did not become guaranteed. The past did not get erased. The problems did not disappear. Yet the suffering reduced. That moment was a clue. The clue was that the present moment in reality is not a thought, it is a direct experience. And when you enter direct experience, you step out of the extra suffering created by mental time. But then the mind came back and tried to grab the experience. The mind said, "Good, now keep that, now hold it, now make it permanent, now be present all the time." And instantly the body tightened again. The mind turned the present moment into another project. This is where the person learned the first real lesson: presence is not something you hold, it is something you notice. Notice means you recognize what is already here. The person began to investigate what is already here right now. They noticed breath. Is he breathing when they do not control it? They noticed the body. Is he breathing when they do not pay attention to it? They notice sounds. Are he breathing when they label them as noise? They notice sight. Is he breathing when the mind is elsewhere? They notice thoughts. Are he breathing when they think they are the thoughts? They realize the present moment in reality is not a single object. It is the whole field of experience happening now. Breath, sensation, sound, sight, thought, emotion, space. The person also realized something else. The present moment is not always comfortable. Sometimes the present moment includes stress. Sometimes it includes pain. Sometimes it includes uncertainty. Sometimes it includes boredom. So the mind escapes into story, because story feels like control, story feels like preparation, story feels like meaning. But story also creates suffering when you believe it completely. So the person began training a new relationship with story. They did not try to stop thoughts because that felt like fighting. They tried to stop feeding thoughts with automatic belief in continuation. I thought would arise, I am behind. Instead of continuing the chain, they would notice the thought as thought, then return to breath and sensation. I thought would arise, something bad will happen. Instead of building 10 more thoughts, they would notice fear as sensation, then return to the body and the space around the body. A thought would arise, they do not respect me. Instead of rehearsing arguments, they would notice heat in the chest and jaw, then return to the pause before speaking. This was not mystical, it was practical. The person was learning to separate the present moment from the mental commentary about the moment. Then a deeper understanding arrived. The person saw that the mind does not only think, it identifies. Identification means the mind says, this is me. This is my story. This is my fear. This is my problem. This is my failure. This is my future. When you identify, you shrink into the content of mind. When you stop identifying, you find space. So the person practiced a simple shift in language inside. Instead of saying, I am anxious, they said, anxiety is here. Instead of saying, I am angry, they said, anger is here. Instead of saying, I am broken, they said, pain is here. Instead of saying, I cannot handle this, they said, a difficult moment is here. This shift did not deny emotion, it simply removed the extra identity glue, and when identity glue weakens, the present moment becomes easier to meet. Now the person tested this in daily life, because presence is not proven in meditation alone. It is proven in traffic, in conversations, in waiting rooms, in stressful mornings, in awkward moments, and in quiet evenings. One day they were stuck waiting. The mind started running as usual. I am wasting time. I should be doing something else. This is annoying. This always happens. They noticed the loop and asked a new question. What is actually here right now? Here right now was a body sitting. Here right now was breath. Here right now was sound. Here right now was light and shadow. Here right now was sensation in the hands and feet. Waiting was still waiting, but the suffering reduced because they stopped fighting the fact of waiting. They realized something surprising. Most suffering is resistance. Resistance is the inner sentence, this should not be happening, but it is happening. So the practice became simple. Accept the reality of this moment first, then respond wisely. Accept does not mean approve. Accept means stop arguing with what is already true right now, so you can act from clarity instead of panic. Another day, a difficult message arrived. The mind surged, the body tightened, the inner voice demanded an instant reply. The person felt the urgent, remembered the present moment means reality, not mental time. They paused. They felt the body. They noticed the story forming. They took one breath. Then they chose the most useful response rather than the fastest reaction. Later they noticed the outcome changed, not always perfectly, but the chaos was less, the regret was less, the inner exhaustion was less. They began to see cause and effect clearly. When the mind reacts instantly, it plants seeds of conflict. When the mind pauses, it plants seeds of wisdom. This is karma in daily language. Your repeated patterns create momentum. Momentum shapes your future. So the present moment was not just about feeling calm. It was about changing the causes they planted every day. Now the person faced a bigger challenge: anxiety. Anxiety is a powerful teacher because it pulls you into the future so fast you forget the present. Even exists. Anxiety says danger is coming. The body tightens, then the mind searches for reasons. The person used to try to eliminate anxiety by thinking more. They planned more, they checked more, they tried to guarantee safety. But safety did not arrive. The mind always found new uncertainty. So they tried meeting anxiety in the present moment as reality. They asked, what is anxiety right now in direct experience? They found tightness in the chest, buzzing in the belly, restlessness in the legs, pressure in the throat, racing thoughts. They noticed something profound. Anxiety is not only a prediction, it is a body wave plus a story. They practiced staying with the body wave without feeding the story. They breathed. They felt the feet. They noticed the space around the sensations. They let the wave move. The wave still rose, but it passed more quickly when not fed. Then they discovered the one thing that truly changed anxiety, the discovery that awareness can hold anxiety. If awareness can hold it, then it is not the end of you. If awareness can hold it, then you do not have to run. If awareness can hold it, then you can choose your next step instead of obeying panic. This builds real confidence, not confidence based on perfect outcomes, but confidence based on capacity. That capacity is the root of peace. Because peace is not found by forcing life to be safe. Peace is found by discovering the awareness that can meet life as it is. Now the person faced another challenge: rumination. Rumination is the mind living in the past. The mind replays. As if replay could change what happened, it tries to rewrite history with thought. The person realized rumination steals life twice. It steals the past by keeping it painful, and it steals the present by replacing it with mental time. So they practiced a new response to replay. They labeled it replay. They returned to sensation. They listened to sound. They felt the body. They took one practical lesson if one was needed. Then they released the loop. This release was not always easy, but it was trainable. And over time, the loops became shorter, not because the person became perfect, but because the person stopped feeding them with attention. Attention became the central training. Where attention goes, energy goes. Where energy goes, patterns grow. Patterns become habits. Habits become destiny. So the present moment practice was a practice of attention. They learned that attention is not only focus, it is love. Because what you give attention to is what you make real in your life. If you give attention to fear story all day, you live in fear even if nothing is happening. If you give attention to resentment story all day, you live in war, even if the room is quiet. If you give attention to presence, you live in reality, and reality is often simpler than the mind claims. Now the person began to understand what present moment in reality means. It means your feet are on the ground. It means your breath is moving. It means sound is arriving. It means a feeling is in the body. It means a thought is appearing. It means you can be aware of all of it. It means you stop living as a mental narrator and you start living as a conscious participant. And when you live as a participant, compassion naturally increases. Because when you are present with yourself, you become less harsh toward yourself. When you become less harsh toward yourself, you become less harsh toward others. When you are present with others, you listen better. When you listen better, people feel safer. When people feel safer, conflict reduces. So presence is not only personal peace, it is relational healing. The person saw this in small moments. When someone spoke with a sharp tone the person used to react defensively, now they stayed present in the body while listening. They noticed the sting as sensation. They did not turn it into an identity war. They responded with clarity and boundaries without poison. This changed relationships, not because the person became passive, but because the person became less reactive. Another day, someone close was upset. The person used to try to fix immediately or to defend themselves. Now they practiced presence. They listened, they felt the breath, they stayed grounded. They allowed the other person's emotions without taking them as personal attacks. They spoke gently and honestly. The situation still had difficulty, but the suffering did not multiply as quickly. This is the power of presence. It reduces the chain reaction. Now a deeper question arrived for the person: if the present moment is so important, why do people avoid it? They saw the answer: fear of feeling, fear of emptiness, fear of not controlling the story, fear of silence, fear of facing what has been avoided. The mind uses noise as armor, but armor is heavy. So the practice became courage. Courage does not mean forcing yourself to feel good. Courage means being willing to feel what is here without running. And the more the person practiced, the more they discovered that feelings are waves, not permanent prisons. Even intense emotions rise, peak, and fall when met with awareness. This realization changed everything because it removed the fear of emotion. When you are no longer afraid of feeling, you do not need endless distraction. When you do not need distraction, you can live more deeply. When you live more deeply, the present moment becomes rich, not boring. The person also realized that presence includes right effort. Right effort means you do what is wise without hatred. You train without cruelty. You correct mistakes without self-destruction. You practice without making practice into ego. So when the person lost presence, they did not shame themselves. They returned. Return became the whole method. Return in the morning. Return in traffic. Return in conversations. Return before replying. Return before checking the phone. Return before sleep. Each return planted a seed. Those seeds accumulated, and the person began to notice a quiet transformation. They still had problems, but they suffered less. They still had fear, but it owned them less. They still had goals, but they were less desperate. They still had relationships, but they were less reactive. They still had pain, but it was cleaner. Clean pain is pain without extra story. Clean fear is fear without panic about fear. Clean sadness is sadness without shame. Clean effort is effort without self-hatred. This is a mature life. Now let us bring the story to a point that many people miss. The present moment is not only a calming to it, is the doorway to awakening. Awakening means you recognize the awareness that is already here. You stop believing you are only the voice in the head. You stop building identity solely from thought and emotion. You discover a deeper stability. So the person practiced the simplest awakening question again and again. What is aware of this experience right now? When they asked, they felt the difference between content and context. Content is thought, emotion, sensation. Context is awareness, the knowing field. Content changes constantly. Context remains. This recognition gave them a peace that did not depend on perfect conditions. Not a dramatic peace, a steady peace. Steady peace is what allows compassion to remain even when life is hard. Steady peace is what allows wisdom to guide speech. Steady peace is what allows discipline without cruelty. Steady peace is what allows letting go without collapsing. And that steady peace reshapes destiny because a steady mind makes wiser choices. Wiser choices create better consequences. Better consequences reduce regret. Less regret reduces inner noise. Less inner noise makes presence easier. Presence makes wisdom stronger. This is a positive cycle built from small returns. Now, as we close, I want to share a reflection that creates real resonance. Many people think they will live fully later, after they finish the project, after they solve the problem, after they reach the goal, after they become calmer, after they become healed. But later is a thought. Later is not a place. Later is not guaranteed. Later never arrives as later. It arrives as now. So the present moment is not only a spiritual idea, it is a realistic truth. You are alive now. This breath is now. This listening is now. This chance to choose is now. If you miss now, you miss your life. And the good news is you can begin immediately without becoming perfect. One breath, one sensation, One pause, one moment of noticing the mind leaving, one moment of returning. That is enough. Thank you for being here with me today. Now, I want to invite you to share your experience in the comments. Where does your mind leave the present moment most often, and what simple anchor helps you return? And if you want more long-form teachings like this, support the channel by subscribing, liking, and commenting. Your support helps this kind of practical wisdom reach people who are tired of living in mental time and ready to live in reality. Until next time, keep returning, keep practicing. And remember, the present moment is not far away. It is the only place you have ever been alive.